I do remember as a child how far the walk from the mailbox to the actual house, what seemed like a quarter of a mile back then, was probably 100 yards, 150 yards maybe. It seemed like it took forever to get down there. I guess as a young child, you never know just how large the world is until you get away from that small place where you grew up. Who am I? Mato Taota Hemacha. My name is His Many Bears. Spirituality is very near and dear to what I do. It's everything that I do. How do I paint a ceremony? You really have to think about that. How do you paint the intense heat of those rocks when water touches the rocks and creates that steam? How do you capture that? How do you give people an experience of that? That's the challenge that I pose to myself. And that's the challenge that I'm giving the viewer. Am I successful or am I not successful? As a native artist, I want people to look at my works and to be challenged. I want them to look at that. Am I successful? Most of the time people are going to say no. Because it's something, without actually making a sweat lodge to lead them through there, to give them the clues. They're not going to get what I do without painting a buffalo and a teepee. They're not going to get a lot of what I do. And that's okay. I have a lot of pattern and repetition, which leads you to think about the songs, the dances, the chants. Spiritual enlightenment. That's where I'm going with my work. As I'm painting, I'm praying. I add a little bit of ash from the sage that I burn in the morning when I come into the studio. That's carrying the prayers. In the end of the process, before the paintings go out, I again smudge off my paintings. I smudge myself off. Because those paintings are a part of me. They become alive. And the final step is when I pull my pipe out. I do the pipe ceremony in my studio. And I pray to the directions. And I light my pipe. And I blow the smoke from the chanunpa onto each painting to carry that message into the four directions. Thank you. I'd like to sit for this one. I've been standing for a while. My work is based on Lakota cosmology, our relationship to where we are in the universe. As I was wandering through the gallery, I heard a young girl say, "You must really like the color red." I said, "Well, yeah, it's part of what I do." I'm using the mythology. The color red symbolizes our ancestors' bodies were washed into a valley, which became the pipestone that we get when we use the sacred chanunpa, this ceremonial pipe that we pray with to the Great Spirit. And that's my connection. Every day when I go to the studio, I smudge myself, my work, everything that I use, and then I start saying my prayers. I bring out my chanunpa, and again, I'm praying to the Great Spirit. This painting over here on the right looks like a bullseye. When you have your chanunpa and someone lights it for you as they're looking down into it, that's what you see. And so I'm trying to bring that spiritual connection to the viewer. So I want to pull you in with the colors that are going around it. A lot of times my paintings are started over 3 or 4 times because I start down an idea and it'll be a common thread throughout them. And then I scrap that idea, so I turn the paintings around and I start another set. So I work in series. I'll do maybe 20, 25 paintings, start them all at the same time, and go with a common theme throughout. But the underlying theme throughout my whole work is about prayer, spirituality, whatever that means to people. And for me, instead of painting a dancer dancing in the powwow scene, I'm painting the movement of the dance. That really strikes me more than the feathers and the headdress and all of that kind of thing. When I first started at the University of Oklahoma in my graduate program, I was asked to not to be so Indian, so literal with my works. And I had, up to that point, I'd always done portraits, and I decided that I wasn't going to go down that road again. It made me think. So intellectually, I had to sit down and go through and say, what are we? What have we always been? Who do we believe in? What is the strongest part about us? And I came up with prayer, and I tried to use that in everything that I do. Songs, when you sing your repetitive songs in ceremony, hamlecha, or whatever it is you're doing, that repetitiveness brings you closer to the Great Spirit. You're fasting. How do you represent all of that? How do you represent a grass dancer without, the actual grass dancer there? The movements are so striking, so beautifully choreographed. How do you put that down on canvas without, saying, look at this? So those are the challenges that I pose to myself. And the raven, I knew Bob used the raven, and I knew Roger used the raven. In my research, the raven was a messenger from the ghost dance period, where we would dance ourselves, our ancestors would dance themselves into a frenzy, and they would fall over, exhaustion, always praying, always through prayer, and these ravens would come, and they would tell them messages from the spirit world, what our ancestors were doing. So that really struck something within me, that I was going to use that rather than the eagle or the hawk or some of those other things, the buffalo, and trying to shed new light. We're more than buffalo and eagle with the face on the other side, that kind of thing. You see that a lot. You can drive down the road and you can pick up a little war bonnet of all these little colors, and you can get yourself a little bow and arrow set. And I thought, there's got to be something more, that we're more than that. So that's why I chose not to be very pictorial with my own works. And I know a lot of people want to get on I call it the Indian art trail, and go from show to show to show. And that reaches a smaller audience, I think. And I want to reach a global audience. So I choose to show only in galleries and in museums. So right now, tonight, I have a show that's opening up in Shanghai, China. And I have a couple of pieces there. I was chosen one of 12 around the world, and this lady's represented me there. So send prayers that way. You do well. Sell a few paintings.
How has family played a role in what you guys become today?
I come from a large family. You're one of my older brothers, of course. So you know what part that plays in my work. Ever since I was a young warrior, out there on the plains on my pony, I knew I was going to be an artist. Get up and walk out of the teepee and look off to the... as family, we're always joking around, and that's what really keeps us going, is no matter what happens in any given situation, there's always time for humor. And every once in a while, I'll put some humorous element into what it is I'm doing. So I created these T-shirts that says, "Sorry, we're Indian," and I wear those around Norman, Oklahoma. And so they ask me what kind of Indian I am. So sometimes I, do the East Indian. Well, I'm Hakeem. I don't take 7-Eleven. Or I do the. Many times I'm asked to come up here and talk to my relatives. I really, use that kind of humor to lighten up any situation. So you just really got to know me. And but family, my parents always encouraged me to go to school, finish, and my dad said, "Be the best at whatever it is that you do." And if he said, if you're going to lay around all day and watch TV, he said, well, be the best damn TV actor. So, and a work ethic, strong work ethic. He was up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every day, went to work and came home late, and he always had time for us, love for us, and so. I remember sitting in the kitchen, looking out at the front door, and my family was large, 14 children. I remember sitting on maybe my father's lap, looking out the window, and everybody was around the table eating. It was always a large gathering like that. Looking back at that house now, it was so small, but we had 14 children that were raised there. It was a simpler time. Every family in the area worked hard, sort of helped each other out as cucumber farmers. The ones that were too large, my dad would put in everyone's mailbox, kind of sharing what he had left over, things like that. That doesn't happen anymore. And looking at my future, just going through all the changes on the reservation, where we are today, where I've gone, the military life, the colleges that I went to, the different countries that I've been in, and then coming back, I still know where I started, where I've grown up, still know who my family is, my ancestry. That's what keeps me grounded. I know my culture. It's a proud history of what's been happening over the years, sort of moving from one era to the next era, and just striving for something better for the people in the area. I believe that teaching is an honorable profession. I'm trying to pass on what I know to other young Native American artists. At the University of Oklahoma, when I first got into the program, I didn't know what direction I would take my work. I had been so deep into the figurative, the portraiture, the having to be so literal with my paintings. And I had to ask myself some very serious questions. I had to have these conversations about
what I could do, and I had to do a lot of research. I never realized there was a lot of research involved. And once I started, Jim Wade came to the University of Oklahoma and taught me a few techniques. Fritz Scholder was there, needed some painting demonstrations. Elias Rivera came in with his wife, and they talked with me. Susan Contreras, that's his wife. Susan and Elias talked with me about where my work was at, what I was doing, how am I challenging myself. John Fincher came in, and this took about 2 years from the time that they started talking to me. And by the time John Fincher got there, I already had representation out in Taos. And my work was in a few magazines. And I believe I was at the end of my MFA program. My work had taken off. It was very textural. It was very colorful, very symbolic, a lot of symbology about who I am as a Native American person, and about my culture, and about the ceremonies, about the spiritual aspects of who we are. And I had gone through 300 yards of canvas, done over 175 paintings there. And I was really pushing and challenging myself continually to paint more and more and more, because I believe that as an artist, you need to go through these processes of the portraiture series until you're tired of it. And once you're tired of it, then you can move on. And if someone's forcing you or pushing you to move on when you're not ready to, then it becomes a struggle. It's sort of like a power struggle, actually. And you're not going to get anywhere with that. You're going to resist more than you will try to push through these problems that are created by someone pushing you. They can ask questions, but they can't dictate to you about which direction to go. And I never wanted to be someone that was lazy about my work. I knew I had to work and work and work and outwork everybody. And that's what I tried to do. For 2.5 years, I painted every single day I possibly could. And I spent all my time out there. Any free time I had, I just wanted to paint, because I was so driven, determined, dedicated. And I know that's what it takes to be a successful artist. You're going to find canvas and glass and paint, and you will always find me in my studio. And everybody that from my graduate program to now, they call my house looking for me, and they only have to ask the question, is Gerald home? And they say, oh, he's probably at the studio. They answer their own question. Being out at the studio where it's located now in Norman, and probably 120 yards from where the old studios are that are torn down, where Oscar Howe went to paint. His studio was there. And every now and then I catch myself in the middle of the night thinking, I wonder how late Oscar stayed in the studio. I wonder what his studio would have looked like. Would it have been any different than mine? And I think, is his spirit still here? Is he still around at times, coming to see what the new Native American artists are doing?
I've had the privilege of working with Gerald and observing current work is by far the richest and most complex. Not simply because he's kind of pioneering a new technique, which is in itself interesting, but because he has been able to develop a depth and a richness in his work that brings from what he has been doing in the past. He's been an explorer in the past. He arrived here doing one style. He pushed really hard and changed several times in his time here. And then as he went down to Oklahoma, he took another style down there, and he changed several times. We've had a couple of shows here, works of his here in this gallery, and some to our collection that are kind of like on the path to where he is now. And he constantly is growing, evolving, becoming more mature. This work has truly, in my estimation, arrived at a level of consummate professionalism. Certainly very, very incredibly professional work. Not only does he bring to his work all of this growth as an artist, but he brings to it his growth as a person, his spiritual background, his travails in life, his experiences from day to day, his experiences as a man, his experiences as a person who has made a dedicated seriously to one of the toughest courses you can take, and that is to be a professional artist, to support yourself as an artist, which is really challenging. And one of the things that I think impresses me and should impress us all is the dedication with which, the steadfastness with which this man has pursued that. I have every confidence that he will never walk away from that path. That this is Gerald Cournoyer's future as well as his present. I will guarantee you also that the next time you see a show, it will be different again. Because the way he works, his intensity, producing huge amounts of work of great quality for each of his shows, always fresh work. The man is driven, and he will get a new direction, I think, at some point in the future, and we'll be seeing new things. So things will always be fresh, but at the same time, they'll always be connected. I see echoes in this work of the work that he was doing when he first arrived here, even though it looked very, very different, but there's in colors and textures and symbols and kind of this general hand to touch the way that he applies paint, the way that he sees the world visually, is still there, still in, linear connection, which is something we like to see in art. We like to see the hands of the artist, the eye of the artist, the vision of the artist, changing, reflecting new experiences, and new growth. So, having said that, I would invite Gerald to say a few words about either his technique or his current show, or to invite you then to ask questions.
This work is spiritually based, and it's all mythologically based. I'm using the myth, the legend, and using this new technique to push through the boundaries, I guess, of what we consider Native American art. More than just pictures, just Indian on horseback, teepee, feather, trying to challenge your intellectually. Look at the color, look at the pattern, and then think of our songs. Think of the blood of our people, the red pipestone. That's the new direction. Instead of pulling you along and trying to make you understand or try to make you make that connection, I'm just challenging you intellectually. So as you look at these, just think of mythology, Native American mythology, or Dakota, Lakota mythology, and apply that to each and every piece, and how we walk in this world and how we communicate with the supernatural. Those are the two worlds that I'm concerned with. And continual prayer. So before each of these pieces come here, I smudge them, and then I pray with my pipe, and I blow that smoke onto each piece. I also put a little bit of that shamota, that ash, the sage, whenever I do the smudging. I put that into each piece. And so it carries this message of prayer, continual prayer. It's that meditative process that we all get into whatever it is we're doing. It takes you 2 pages to get into something when you're reading a book. It takes me 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get into the physical act of painting, creating something that will challenge you. So as you look around these, just think of that. Think of where we come when you look at these 2 pieces that we're in. Think of this flat plains. Think of the prayer that goes into that, how we take each step on Mother Earth here. Just really get into it, and I encourage you to challenge yourselves. And I'm challenging Native American art right now. A lot of people see this and they say, I don't know how to react, or I don't know how to read this. A lot of research goes into this. You must know yourself, who you are, where you come from, who your people are. Know your religion, your culture, your history, and then you can move forward. As artists, we do that continually asking these questions. There's several different paths you can take. You can be a political activist or a political artist, or you can make social commentaries, or whatever it is you're doing. I'm just using color and spirituality to make those connections. I want to thank everybody for coming. Thanks to John for having the show, and thanks to the drum and my family for coming and supporting. Thank you.
I'm trying to get you to think about the culture more. It's an intellectual journey that I want to take you on. I want you to get deeply involved into the line work that I have going on. The symbology becomes very important to me. I'm trying to stay true to the colors that our ancestors used and how they used them. But I want to be a little more creative in my mind. I'm trying to push where they might be today. If they were still living and doing the same type of work, they might be pushing the ideas along the same lines that I am. Native American artists have always been thinkers. They've always been thinking before they put anything down. How do you describe something in 3 or 4 lines that will describe a whole year? A simple drawing, but you really have to think about it before you do it. And will people be able to read that? You know, you're an artist, yet you're a historian. You're recording the history of your people, and that's what I was doing. I believe that's where I'm at now. I'm recording the history of these ceremonies. I'm recording the history of my own vision quest.